All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and there's only one game this week. It's America's game. It's one of my favorite rivalry games. It's one of Fresh's favorite rivalry games. He's got family at that game. I'm jealous. It's one of those bucket list games, one of the hardest tickets to ever get. But the man who has more respect for our military academies than anyone else I know, my co-host, Fresh. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Perhaps Army, Navy. We love college football and everything that comes into the rivalries and everything like that. But this game is something completely different. This is the soul of America. Seeing men and women in the stands, attending these academies, giving their services to the nation for an extended period of time. The soldiers, across the nation, across the world that are deployed. Even if they didn't go to the academy, this is something that connects them to pride. There's always that inter-service rivalry, whether it's Air Force, Army, Navy. They always chide each other, but in the end, they're, brothers and sisters in arms. And this game means something so much more. For seniors, it's the last fun, quote unquote, fun thing they get to do before reality hits and they get their service orders and, they are deployed wherever they need to go. The heartfelt respect that both these, coaching staffs, these players, these universities, these services have for each other, it really hits the core of America. And people are willing to serve and give for something bigger than themselves. They're not doing it for NIL. They're not in the transfer portal. They're not hopping around trying to get 25 years of eligibility. They're going to the NFL. They're doing something much bigger, and it really has you totally locked in. The football might not be the prettiest, but they're giving 110% on every single play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite ones to watch. Fresh, I grew up in a very, very small town in northern Ohio. And it's really interesting because I go back and I think about, who you always ask about who came out of your town. And really, we didn't have a bunch of guys make the NFL. We didn't have a great, hey, this guy made the NBA we had another guy made Major League Baseball. There are two people that have come out of my hometown that are really well-known celebrities. First one is a guy by the name of Ronnie Lashinsky, who wound up playing in the Army-Navy game as a tight end, wound up getting drafted by the New Orleans Saints. And then the other one's Allie LaForce, where I came from the whole town of that whole thing. So it's interesting. This is a game that I just have grown up watching. I think before I even became a diehard college football fan, I can remember sitting in the living room with my dad watching the Army-Navy game. It's a game that him and I still talk about. He's read multiple books about the history of the Army-Navy game. It's just something that is so special. And I think back of growing up in Ohio, growing right there on Lake Erie. It's why I always put up the "Don't Give Up the Ship" flag, because of Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry and the Battle of Lake Erie, where you take a look at, and again, I know that's not always that one, but again, all the things that surrounded the area that I grew up around in Ohio is really special. The high school I went to, our fight song was "Anchors Away." It's something that we kind of appreciate. It's something that has been really remarkable. So I love the Army-Navy game. It's something that's so, so very, very cool to me. So, Fresh, I'm looking forward to this one.
I mean, it's a full spectacle, even with the march on of, all the attendees, both the academies, the respect, the prisoner exchange, everything that comes into it has just class and respect and honor.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Fresh, for this game, we're going over here to it. It is going to be played at Gillette Stadium this year. Army is a 2-point favorite. Over-under is set at 28.5 points. So a lot of running the football in this game. Recently, Robert Kraft came out and said that this ticket for the Army-Navy game is harder to get than some of the old Patriots AFC Championship games, that this ticket was actually more difficult to get than the Taylor Swift tickets when Taylor Swift was back there in May. Folks, this is how you know that it was a big, big deal.
If it's going for more than Tay or even some of the Tom Brady good years, that's saying something. Usually it's played either in Baltimore, Philly, but getting up there in Foxborough, I think that's the unique experience for everyone up in that part of the country to really get up there and get to that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Fresh, what we got here? Army, Navy. Both teams run the triple option, but as we are looking into these teams, it's interesting. We both made the comment, man, they're throwing the ball a whole lot more this season. Both teams, I know this is going to sound shocking to everyone, both teams have over 1,000-yard passing. They have over 1,000-yard passing. Again, both teams, if you take a look at their stats, they have over 2,000 yards rushing. They're going to primarily run the football. But yes, they do pass the ball a little bit more this season. So, Fresh, give me some stuff. Break it down.
Well, I think first off, we got to look at the uniforms because every time you get in this game, both these academies look at units, groups, divisions that have been really instrumental and historic within both their services. So this year, Army going with the Rock of the Marne, the 3rd Infantry Division, got famous in the Second Battle of the Marne in World War I, 1918. But they're coming out with the tan, desert camouflage in honor of the invasion of Iraq and those soldiers that made that deployment activity in 2003. That's their honor. And then with the Naval Academy, they're going with the submarine focus, the silent service. Those uniforms, those helmets look really, really sweet. It's going to be really, really cool seeing these uniform matchups every single year and what they roll with. But I think that the way that they break them down, the story and the history and the details they add to those uniforms is exquisite. Looking at the
go ahead, Fresh. I was going to say, if you have not seen the Navy uniforms this year, as the kids are saying, they fire. They got some drip to them.
I mean, the helmets alone, I think if you could buy one, get your hands on one of those helmets, those would be top 5 helmets up there with like the blue Tulane helmets. They're up on that kind of level of being sweet.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Fresh. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but man, those Navy helmets they're sick. They're amazing.
Good. The last 10 years has been split 5-5, 2013 through 2022. Army's 3-2 in the last 5, winning 18 and 20 and 21. This is a nice little feel here. It does have a weird intricacy in this ball game because both schools are 5-6, but neither are bowl eligible. The little caveat in the rule is that you have to be bowl eligible before the bowls are announced on December 3rd. Unfortunately, both are 5-6. So this right now is for pride, for a 500 record, and for the Commander-in-Chief trophy for for Army, who already did beat Air Force right now, and they can get a clean sweep. They can take the trophy. So this is the last game of the season for both these schools. Lay it on the line. Let it go. No bulls. This is your bowl game and your existence and your rivalry and your bragging rights for another 365. So there's a lot of the line in this football game. We talked about how normally these teams run the ball a lot. They're historically triple option focused, ground game approach. This year, the Army is 10th in the nation, averaging 209 yards a game and only 4.4 yards a carry. Navy is 14th in the nation, averaging 200.5 yards a game and 4.3 yards per carry. So definitely not where we're used to seeing these two programs being more like a top 8, top 5 in the nation. Being a little down is showing that their offenses kind of struggle to maintain consistency across the seasons. But they have found ways to throw the football a little bit more, seeing some more of that, trying to add a little more wrinkle to their offense and get a little more explosive to add that dual threat to back up some of those linebackers who get so used to that triple option and really crashing in the A gap and B gap, and as well as in the perimeter. Looking at Navy side, we're used to seeing Ty Lavatai, who's actually from the Jacksonville area. He's played a lot in his career. Right now, being injured, haven't played since the Air Force game a few weeks back. No status if he's going to be healthy or not, so we don't know what's going on there. Braxton Woodston, he started the last week. Xavier Arlane had played 3 previous games before the SMU game, so 3 different quarterbacks, all different scenarios. Who knows about health and who's going to play? I would say just be prepared when the game comes on. They're going to run the triple option. All have some sort of vertical passing that they've tried to add to the game and add to the wrinkle, but these offenses are really going to be driven by which one of those 3 quarterbacks actually takes a snap and is healthy to go. Navy has attempted 170 passes on the season, like Seth was saying. There's a lot more of that vertical passing they're trying to add, completing 86 of them for 1,089 yards, but only 50.6% is completion percentage. So it's a hit or miss. They're usually taking those deep shots, trying to really stretch the defense out a little bit and gain some cushion. They're not really running a medium to short passing game. They're really trying to take their play action shots and stretch the field. Army on the other side, they're led by quarterback Bryson Daly. He's thrown for 859 yards himself, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. He is also the leading rusher for Army with 817 yards and 7 touchdowns. The rest of the team has 12 rushing touchdowns split between 8 different players, none having more than 3. So it's a big game bowl. Who's going to score touchdowns for Army is completely wide open and out there. It's a team effort. There's no one lead player outside the quarterback Daly who's really taking over. So don't really think you're going to have to queue on a one different guy. They're all players who bring plug and play at those running back and tailback spots in the fullback position, and how they can just sort of keep churning those yards up as they best possibly can. There's no one player who's going to get the bulk of the carries. Three receivers do have at least 205 yards receiving on the year, led by Isaiah Alston, who has 266 on 9 receptions. Yes, you heard that right. 266 yards on 9 receptions for 2 touchdowns. He is averaging 29.6 yards a reception. So he is definitely the big play threat. If you're seeing him go off, he's going to run a go route or a deep post. He is in that play action, the big hitter. I expect to see him early in this ball game try and take a shot and maybe really steal a couple points or a big gain early in the football game to really set the tone. Army has attempted 150 passes total on the year, completing 76, which is 50.7% for 1,180 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 11 picks. They try to get a little option, try to take that away, throw the football a little bit more. Haven't had as much success, and obviously there's a lot of turnovers when they throw in the football too, which may be a reason why they hold back in this football game and try to be a little more strategic as opposed to just sort of airing it out. They did have a rough day throwing the ball versus LSU, so a lot of these stats are attributed to that ball game where they threw a lot more picks in that beatdown. So maybe you kind of just, the stats are there, take them for what they're worth. They played them in a desperate situation. This team is still going to be ground and pound from the very beginning. Both these teams run basically the same offense. They know each other. They know exactly what they're going to do, and that's why yards are hard. That's why the point total is so low. They're going to be battling it out in the trenches, and whoever can break one for a touchdown or keep the drive going and get those converts and those third downs is going to be the one who's going to come out on top and win this football game. From Army side, we mentioned a lot of different running backs having success, but a lot of those touchdowns being spread around. Watch Kanye Udue, Hayden Reed, who hasn't had a carry since October 28th, so he may be out in this ballgame. We don't know. They don't release an injury report. And then Tyrell Robinson had some recent success. So those three are the top 3 backs for Army. But again, they're going to rotate a lot of different players, getting a lot of different guys opportunities. These teams are very, very well matched. We're always going to see these games battled down. Which team's going to be a little more risky? Who's going to try to make a play? Defenses, they tackle, they're strong, they're disciplined. They know exactly what their gap responsibility is going to be. Who's going to show up and make a play for Army and Navy? I actually do know this. I do know the safeties coach for Army, Danny Verpale. He actually was a defensive assistant coach here at Jacksonville University when I was on staff at the university in the athletic department. He was on the coaching staff. He's been around, was the DC at Kennesaw State for a few years. This is his second stint at West Point. He has the guys really coached up. He led one of the better defenses in FCS for a while. I got a feeling he's going to have his safeties ready to go, keying on these gaps, keying on these wingbacks for Navy, and trying to run downhill and make plays. It's going to be a 4-quarter brawl. It always is. It always is going to be exciting. Every single play means so much. Every single play could mean the ball game because the offenses can be so limited, but so each mirrored so well. In the end, though, my brother's in the Army. I have a lot more Army connections. Army wins this game 17-3. I think that team is very disciplined under Coach Monken. They're going to be fine-tuned. They're going for the Commander-in-Chief trophy. They have the motivation. They're going to get it done on Saturday afternoon. Go Army, beat Navy.
Absolutely, Fresh. This is going to be a wild one. I think that one of the things that makes this game so fascinating to me is Army and Navy are both 5-6 on the year. And you take a look and you go, well, it goes back to a conversation actually we had in the off season about, I felt that with conference expansion, that Army and Navy should be teams to be looked at because they have TV deals and that there's a lot of eyeballs on. And Fresh pointed out that, you take a look at offensive linemen that are on Army and Navy. They're not the same as the ones you see in Power 5 schools like Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, what have you. The skill position, everyone comes along with the flaw. But what makes it interesting is both these teams run the triple option. And the triple option is very, very difficult to game plan on a week-to-week basis throughout the season. And I thought that it was fascinating because you see these teams try to go against it, and usually talent does win out, but you'll see Army and Navy both hang around and have that alligator blood to them and be able to kind of just hang around and win games that a lot of teams would they should have no business winning one of these 2 football games. You take a look at what Navy has done this season and what Army has done this season. You take a look at Navy beating a team like, Eastern Carolina wasn't that great. Take a look at them taking care of North Texas down in this season here as well. It's fascinating for these two teams. It is really, really fascinating. You can even talk about Army got the win over UTSA in week 3, a team that we are very, very high on. They beat Coastal Carolina, a team that has been pretty good over the last couple of years. So it's fascinating to see. This is going to be a run-heavy football game. I'll kind of stay away from the offensive side since you hit both of those as well. But I'm intrigued to see how if Ty does not play in this game, and I struggle with even pronouncing his last name there. If he doesn't play in this game, I think that I was looking all over trying to find some sort of breadcrumb because, again, they're very protective on the injury report with it. Last I heard, it was a rib injury that he hasn't played in a few weeks for. I would love to see him get one more crack at this game. If he's in this game, then I think that it's going to be very special for Navy. The difference to me, though, is the Navy defense this season. Navy's defense has forced 11 fumbles and has recovered 14 fumbles. They've forced 11 and then they fumble and recover their own stuff. But it's been interesting to see that. You take a look, they got cornerback Ryan Lane, 4 interceptions on the year, 122 yards of interception return yards, and take 197 yards to the house in that game. You take a look at Navy, they have 28 sacks on the year. Take a look at Army this year. They only have 18 sacks. Again, I don't think there's going to be a huge passing attack in this game. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe, that's the way to trick, I'm going to trick the Outer Service Academy. You think I'm going to run the triple option. You think we're just going to run at you. And then all of a sudden, we're just going to back up and kind of throw the ball all over the place. I don't think that's going to happen. But you know what? Talk about the element of surprise. We're using battle tactic plans here. And hey, maybe that's the way they do about it here. But you're right, Fresh. These two teams are going to be extremely disciplined. That's the great thing about these football teams. You take a look at neither one of them. Neither one are like heavily, heavily penalized. You take a look at Army. They only have 42 penalties on the year. Navy has been really disciplined as well. They actually have a lot more, but they're at 63 penalties on the year. But you don't see them making like really outrageous penalties in there. You're not going to see the personal fouls. You're not going to see the late hits on these things. It's really intriguing for it. Fresh, your brother's in the Army, and I have a whole lot of respect for what he does, for everything that he has grown up with, and everything that he's done and served our country for all of that. And that's a great thing for the Freshley family. I will say this, though. I grew up around more Navy stuff, and here's the thing. Submarines are just cool. Submarines are just downright cool. I've been on a submarine before. I've been on some aircraft carriers before. I know that's Navy and Air Force. They go back and forth on who claims the aircraft carrier. But I'm going Navy in this game. I think that the Navy midshipmen are going to have something away. And my favorite thing is in Anchors Away, there's a whole part about, don't worry about it. Army boys, we got this. Anchors Away. Let's go. Let's go Navy here. Beat Army. I'll just go. And again, part of me is going to go different than you here, Fresh.
Hey, nobody grew up wanting to play Navy when they were kids. They all grew up wanting to play Army, and that's where it comes down to. I know, they have these services go back and forth. Everybody laughs and jokes around, but in the end, the respect that everybody has for each other is the true meaning of the sportsmanship and the greater good that's coming into play here in this football game. These players, they know they're here for something bigger than this. They are sacrificing. They're playing football for the fun of it, and they know they have a bigger calling down the road. So, giving this one last ounce of fun. When you see these guys on the field and they're crying, they're hugging their teammates, it's because they put a lot into this, and they are and they're about to make a major sacrifice going forward for our nation and probably, most likely even for the world. So, embrace it, folks, and take this one in, enjoy every second of it. Because there are situations where some people didn't get these opportunities to play, and these guys do. So it's always a very poignant and respected game, but a lot of fun when the whistles are blown between the white lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And such a cool thing. The traditions from anything from singing second to the prisoner exchange. And this is the neat thing when I was looking into your Fresh too. This is the first time this game is going to be played in Boston. I know it's Foxborough, but in the Boston area. First time it's going to be played in Massachusetts. I, in an NFL stadium, I should say there. But I really am intrigued by this. I love this game. I love watching it. It's just a fun one. I love that this is the only football game on. It gets the respect it deserves there. And I got to give a shout out to, man, if for some reason, if anyone see this and knows who Ronnie Lashinsky is, he was a tight end for the Army. Get him a link to our podcast there, because I pulled him up real quick here, fresh. Rivals back in the day, in 2009, voted him as the greatest Army football player in the last 50 years. So
that's big time right there.
That is big time. And he came from my hometown. I actually went to his NFL draft party when he went with the Saints. And there's a couple of cool stories I have as a kid. So if anyone knows Mr. Lashinsky and wherever he is off and doing this and are part of the Army, Armed Services, and can send him a text, again, thank you for your service. And again, the young kid that you saw in Northern Ohio had a great deal of respect for what you did even all the way back then. So hopefully some way, somehow, someone can get a link of our podcast to him so you can see all the nice things we're saying about him. But again, unfortunately, I'm going with, because Fresh is going with the Army, I'm going with Navy and Anchors away.
Hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for the game on Saturday.
Really is.
It's something special, and looking forward to it. But
Absolutely.
Go Army, beat Navy.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before you head out of here, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. While we had a blast doing this episode, this is a fun one for us to do. We love talking about Army, Navy. It's going to be an incredible game. But make sure you hit that notification bell, because we're going to hit all of bowl season. We're going to be talking about different bowl games out there. We're going to do early. We're going to do late bowl season. And then we're going to talk about the college football playoff. So make sure you're hitting that. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Hit that notification bell, and it'll go right to your phone as well. Make sure you're visiting SpinnableSports.com, because the Irrational Confidence Podcast is part of Spinnable Sports. So make sure you visit SpinnableSports.com. Leave us that 5-star review, because Fresh and I were those 5-star prospects. And with that, that's all I got. I kind of stumbled through that one today, Fresh. I'll be a little bit better once we get to bowl season.
All good. Everyone, please engage with us, whether it's on X, whether it's come to our website, whether it's the comment section of YouTube. We want to hear from you, good, bad, and different. We love all the engagement. Spread the word. Help us out. Keep building this thing one brick at a time. With that, bye, y'all.